everyone. Welcome to Wow Wednesday with Women's Prosperity Network. I'm Trish Carr, your host today, and this is your midweek boost of inspiration, education, and motivation to keep us going. Everybody else calls it Hump Day. We call it Wow Wednesday. How exciting! Such a better way to do it. Such an easier way for us to really ease into the day with Wow Wednesday. So let me tell you what we're up to today. First of all, we're having my favorite conversation. And this is, how do you get money to make money? How do you prepare so that you have money for a rainy day or for that thing you're going to do when you're not going to be working full time anymore? You know, it starts with an R, but I hate using the word because, it means you're put out to pasture. I don't think any of us retire out to pasture, but definitely we want to be able to have money when we're finished with the day to day. So Debra Morrison is going to be with us today to share with us how we can do it women. And she is the founder of the We Can Do It Women movement, where her focus is to ensure every woman, that's you, that's me, that's all the women around us, that every woman has access to the knowledge, to the tools and the strategies to up level our financial how to, what to, so we can manage our money. Debra's amazing. Many of you already know her. She's a TEDx speaker. She has been on ABC, Fox, and the LA Tribune, quoted in Business Week, the New York Times. I could go on and on. Debra Morrison, what a pleasure to have you with us today. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Trish. I'm doing great, and it's such a pleasure always to be with WPN Sisters. So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Good morning. So I'm so thrilled to be here because, when I was telling people about what was coming up on Wow Wednesday, I said, I started working with Debra, I don't know how long, 2.5 years ago, maybe.
Yes,
And
yes.
I had zero in my savings. Zero in my savings. I did have some money in stocks and CDs and stuff like that, but I didn't have savings money. What was that, right?
No.
Well, not only 2.5 years later do I have savings money, but I also have a stock account that has more than $10,000 in it. And that stock account is now moving and getting bigger and bigger without me adding to it. The interest that Debra found me on a savings account is 5 times that of what a bank gives you.
Wow.
So, Debra Morrison, thank you for saving my financial life. I can't wait for us to support everybody else with your wisdom and what you know. So, thanks for
Well,
being here.
yes, you're welcome. And it's all that's on you, Trish. I mean, I can lay it out there, and yet, I mean, I always say, are you picking up what we're putting down? And if we're each of us picking up what others are putting down, others in swim lanes perhaps different than yours, right? And that's always a
Right.
beautiful thing that this coalition, if you will, of women with various swim lanes, various training and experience and wisdom, I distinguish them, brought together into this collaborative community. That's what gives it the richness. So whatever I can share out of my training is just that. And anyone that's a nurse or a doctor or a STEM person can put me in a snowdrift with their technical terms in in New York second. And that's the point. I want us to not be in any type of vernacular snowdrift, if you will. I want us to all be able to, when I get belly up to the table and be able to converse about money. And so we have to know a little bit about it. I am really not one to banish women and say, all you need is to become financially literate and banish someone back to the library for 8 years. I mean, we have no time for that.
Well, and not just that. How about I have spoken to financial planners who have made me feel stupid for not
Yeah.
knowing,
Yeah.
right? When I was in my first marriage, full disclosure,
Yeah.
my ex handled all of the investments, all of that stuff. So, I mean, I knew we had stocks and mutuals, but I didn't know what they were. And I knew we lost $750,000 when the stock market tanked, but I didn't know why, right? So here I am thinking I lost 750,000, but I didn't really lose it because I didn't really sell anything. So
Right.
the whole mindset about it. So I know that you always talk about our two greatest assets. Can you talk a little bit about that for us, Debra?
Completely. I am just so dialed in to real life. And part of this comes from being raised on a farm, right? There's just no time for superfluous notions. And on the farm, we were just, you just acted and then you reacted and you looked around and you had a plan A and a plan B and a plan C. So literally this little axiom that I have used ever since came from 1999, and I'm on CNN across from Stuart Varney being interviewed, and he said to me, "Well, Trevor, share with us your best asset." And I was like, I was just literally like, God, give me what to say.
I don't think he
You know?
was talking about your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. So I literally, the words just, God just tumbled them right over my lips. And I said, Stuart, I have two assets. And of course, I'm the Chiron Debra Morrison certified financial planner. Two assets, time and health. And I don't want to waste either one of them. Well, he almost fell off his producer chair. Whoa, we have a financial planner here. And he had to take a station break. He was that flustered. So, and I thought to myself, thank you, God, because it's so rich. You see, people talk and think about wealth and they singularize it into greenbacks. And I want to dispel that myth because anyone that's had their health impaired or lost their health or had a person near to them die, there's our focus on our priorities. And I can assure you it's not greenbacks. As a matter of fact, I'm in Hawaii now, but generally I hold up 10 $100 bills and I just have them all taped together. And they're real. Yes, they are. And I say, a lot of people spend the first half of their life chasing this.
Mm.
And then their health gets affected and they spend the next half of their life spending a lot of this to hopefully regain a little bit of the health that went by the wayside. And there's no reason for that. So as women, let's plan. I'm like a planner. I exited the vaginal canal as a planner. I want you to plan as well. And that's the missing piece, you see. And here's why. It's not your fault that you haven't planned. What we have been pummeled by, particularly as women, is product, cryptocurrency, gold, silver, inflation hedge, stocks, Tesla, Microsoft. All of this is thrown at us by the media, our broker or insurance agent, which is getting paid a commission on everything they sell us. And so what do we have as a result? We have a bevy of products. We have this, we have that. We have an insurance policy or 6. We have 2 or 4 annuities, highest commissionable products in the world. Why do we have them? Because it's hard to say no. We were sold them. We have this mutual fund, exchange traded fund. We don't necessarily know how to contextualize this bevy of products, and probably because it can't fit together. They are apples and oranges and grapefruits, and we don't know if these products are going to get us where we want to go. And ladies, that is the quintessential question that I always start with. Where are you headed? You wouldn't get in your car, you wouldn't set out on foot without knowing at least a vague idea of where you're going. And so, depending upon if you're going from New York to San Diego or if you're just going from New York to New Jersey, there's a different strategy. And so we want to meld the products that, at least from a historical return and risk standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
have the possibility of being the very vehicles that will get us there. And we have to rid ourselves of the other ones. And the sooner we do that, the better. Yet it does require planning, and only a few planners across the United States and world are called fiduciary planners. And that's the type of planner I was for the last 23 years of my 45 years of experience. And that fiduciary planner is going to give you advice around how to utilize different strategies that are wealth building, investment strategies, risk management strategies, tax minimization strategies. You see the depth here. It's so much more than, oh, should I buy Microsoft or Tesla?
Right. Should I? Oh, I know I can buy Apple and I'll make money. Well, and that's the thing is like, I love how you're, first of all, differentiating between a commissioned agent and a fiduciary because I have worked with Merrill Lynch for years and years and years. Actually, my ex did,
Yes.
right? I wasn't involved enough to know all the ins and outs, but they would say, you want to buy this, you want to buy that, you want to buy this. And I'm like, well, why do I want to buy that? I never got any education. I never know, how do I make a good decision? How do I look at a stock or a mutual or whatever and know I'm making the right decision? For me, and Debra, you know this, I have been involved in not one, but two Ponzi scams. And when I think the amount of money was something like over 150,000 for the two of them that I did are not in my life anymore. They're gone. So for me, I get concerned about the risk. So one of the things I love about working with you, you help me understand that what I'm buying is not something I watch. Oh, it's up. Oh, it's down. Oh, it's up. Oh, it's down, right? That I'm actually buying for longer term because I know where I'm going, right? Where do I want to be in X amount of years? And that's really where it starts, is knowing where you're going. So let's talk about the fear and anxiety that comes with the risk and taking that responsibility for our future. Because I know that one of the greatest things you did for me was you got my mind out of that up and down cycle. And now I realize this is not the way it works. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So talk to me about the risk and all those fears and that anxiety.
Exactly. And this is so critical to understand. You see, we have this down in other areas of our life. And so I'm just kind of attempting to move the money silo, if you will, raised on a farm, right here into our common sense wheelhouse. So if you have kids or you know a kid, and you were go to their teacher at school, a little kid, and you say, well, what did Sally do at 10 o'clock? Well, what did Sally do at 11 o'clock? How was Sally at 2 o'clock? First of all, that is the emphasis on the wrong syllable. So when you look at, when the internet shows you or your cell phone shows you your portfolio, or you just look it up and you see that your stock is at this level today and this level tomorrow and this level intraday, that is the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Right.
What you want to do is maintain the scope that you are going to need some money now, some money in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years, 7+ years. And so I developed this goal investment timeline that helps women get very clear on their goals. And I'd be happy to share it with anybody. You just email me, team@wecandoitwomen, and we'll send it out to you. But it's a very good visual. I'm a real visual person. And so you put your goals on the top, right? And then on the bottom, you figure out what investments, again, historically speaking, from a risk return standpoint, are best suited for that. You see, you don't send a girl to do a woman's job. You do not send a bond to do a long-term job unless you want to sink instead of swim in your later years. For the long term, that's where our stock and our equity and our real estate investments are better suited. I make the analogy, if you golf, you have a number of clubs in your bag. We just were on a gorgeous golf course yesterday. When you're on the tee box, could you tee off with your putter?
Mm,
Yes.
you
But
could, but it wouldn't go anywhere.
But why would we when we have this big Bertha, right? Called a stock for the long holes. And then we cut up to the apron, if you will, of the hole, the cup and the flag. And now we get out our middle club, our stock and bond, right? And then we get a little closer to the pin and we get something called a bond and stock. And the difference is I say the word of the majority of the investment first, stock and bond. Like equity and income, more stocks than income, more bonds. Say it separately, differently. bonds and stocks, more bonds than stocks. It's in that balance, right? And
Right.
then you get right up within the circle around the cup and the tea. And now you take your putter out and you just tap it in. So if you have all of these fingers on your financial hand, the driver, the stock, the international stock, the large cap stock, the small cap stock, the emerging market stock, the bonds, etc., and then we smush them together. You're not going to do this because it takes a great deal of training, yet your fee-only advisor is going to mesh them in a percentage recipe that's going to work, has a highest probability of working. Now, here's where fear has come in and gripped many women. Many women made a financial misstep. I'd get them all the time. Debra, I made a big mistake. They would always make a big mistake. I'd get my pen out, my paper. Say, okay, tell me about it. Say, in 1970, on August 1970, I lost $6,000 in the stock market. Okay, what else, Betty? Now that was it, Betty. In 1970, August, you lost $6,000. If that's it, we're golden. And you know what? Betty got herself all situated and she sat up closer to the table. And now she's with me because I'm giving her hope that that's the past. And what we'll do with the past is take lessons from it. And then we will face strategically and radically responsibly forward and devise a strategy that's going to help us steer our Women Navigating Finances, steer our financial car's tires around those potholes. And that's risk management. But let's come back to fear for a moment, because when we make and I like to call them now missteps, because that connotes movement. Like, we're not just going to sit there with cement shoes. We're going to keep moving. Because if Warren Buffett can admit to $4 billion mistakes, that's what the B, who
Yes.
are we? Who are we to think we're going to go through this unscathed? Now, I'm not saying it's not painful. I fell prey to a Ponzi scheme too. Many of you know this. It was not pretty, and it was in an IRA, and I couldn't even tax deduct it as a bad loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of mine was in my IRA too.
Yeah. So now I take a page from Dr. Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And she was a dear friend of mine. And she said, if so many are out there doing new things despite their fears, then we must conclude it's not the fear, yet rather how we hold the fear. And she has a pain power continuum, which is amazingly freeing. And on the pain side, there's, a paralysis, depression, anxiety. And on the power side, there's choice and action. And so if we slip over here into I'm afraid I'm going to do something else that's going to cost me money, then we know there's another axis, and we can slide back over and we can be filled with personal power and then make choices that are empowering. So if we know that one bad investment or one past misstep does not define us, that is a pretty freeing thing. We want to forgive ourselves, because there's a lot of grief and shame that comes with these things.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a certified grief coach. Once we get ourselves rid of that, now we can run the race to win. And now we will look at the other R word about the stock market that we're never told about. We were always told about one big R word. What was that in the stock market?
Risk.
Hello, right? And it was promulgated by the newscasters that said the stock market is crashing and their veins are popping.
I know. And every day they talk about how the stock market's doing. It's up, it's down, it's what was affecting. It's like crazy to get on that cycle and just keep watching that. It's nuts. And it causes us to fear.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, this is true, Trish, and the fact is, so long as your focus and your psyche and your conscious and your subconscious are all locked into the fear gear,
Right.
just made that up, and I like it.
The fear gear.
We're going to shift out of that and shift that into first gear, and then into second gear and third gear. Yet we do like to have the answers to our questions as we have them.
Mm-hmm.
And not be banished to the library and say, you just need to be financially alert. I make the analogy. If I go into the mechanic and say, my brakes are mushy, they're a little bit squishy, and they come out with a compendium on automotive mechanics, I'm like not going to be happy. Like I don't
Right.
really care about the slip differential. I want to know about my brakes when I want to know about my brakes. And so many of us have trusted these friends. Believe me, I've unwound an unsuitable $431,000 annuity, which paid the agent $68,000, and he sold the widow that from the death benefit check that she signed on the back because he said to her, I won't use her name, Mary, you don't want to take any risk with this money, do you? No, she just buried her husband. No, but she doesn't understand that risk is the currency for reward.
Right.
And he was going to earn a big commission by locking it up into another big commissionable product. It didn't serve her in the least. You'll never have that experience with a fiduciary. And so I want us to avoid as many of those potholes, which cost us money, time, and confidence, and up level our confidence so that if we do misstep or we take a route that was a little circuitous, we look back and say, yeah, next time, face that choice, I'll go this way. See,
Yeah.
now we're talking about real progress that is going to be profitable progress.
Well, and I love the distinction, really. If we get nowhere else, if you're dealing with someone who's making commission on what they sell you, they're in business to make money for themselves. A fiduciary makes money if you make money, and that's the only way. If you lose money, they're not making money. So they're not going to be hawking a particular stock or like you said, a mutual fund. They're not going to be hawking those things to you. They're going to be looking at everything. And that's what you did for me. So one of the things as we talk about, letting go of the fear and forgiving yourself, I have to say that for me, it was like I not only had to forgive myself for two Ponzi scams, like I've done everything I thought I was doing right to build my money, and I wasn't because I didn't have you in my back pocket. That's the truth. But
Yeah.
I also had to forgive myself for, okay, here I am in the, not far from being, 15 years from I'm not going to work anymore. Here
Sure.
I am, with no savings in the bank. Here I am with losses in my big money that used to be way bigger and now it's not. And here I am, I'm sitting here, I'm not going to be able to, I'm going to work at Walmart. I'm going to be one of those people handing you the cart. That's what I was,
Yeah.
I worked myself up to that. But here's the reality. The reality is that once I started working with you, you showed me how systematic savings can work and that I don't have to have big chunks of money to put in the bank to make more money on my money. So
This,
tell me a little bit about systematic savings. I know from my experience, it works. I have money in the bank that's savings now. I have money in the bank that's in all different kinds of vehicles that you've given me coaching on, so I know where to go, and
yes.
I minimized my risk so that everything is. So talk about the systematic savings, because the thing is, we don't have the big chunks of money to buy big chunks of stocks.
Yeah.
So tell us about that systematic savings.
Well, I always ask rhetorically, like, who gets paid first, you or your electric company? Well, the electric company, right? Why
Yeah.
do so many Americans own homes? It's because that mortgage was taken right out. Boom, 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 boom. Remember 100 years ago, maybe I'm really dating myself, Christmas clubs at the bank, right?
Oh
You'd
my
say,
gosh.
hey,
Oh,
yeah.
I remember those from when I was a little girl.
And guess what? When November, like we didn't start like, sale, Amazon sale days in like, June then. But so in November, you got the check, you made your Christmas purchases.
Right. The little bit of
Voila.
money you did every week. Yeah, I remember those.
So here's the deal. We want to set up now. What's often the most convenient is if we're working for an employer or we have our own retirement plan, just go ahead automatically from your checking account, credit union, whatever, automatically every paycheck, check, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever, boom, $50, $100, whatever, $200. Start with $5 if you haven't saved yet, because it's the action of systematic savings. I don't care about the denomination to start, because unless you would become the first person in my 45 years experience, longer than some of you have been alive, you will find great joy in opening up your statements and saying, I have 200 units. You remember, you hear I did not say $200. I said 200 units. Here's the scoop. I want to disabuse you from knowing the prices of your stocks every month or whenever. I want you to think about this. Let's do the math, easy math. Let's say you're putting away $100 a month and you're buying something, stock fund something that costs $10 a unit. $100, $10 a unit, you bought 10 units this month. And then we have a terrific market correction. I'm being drastic to prove a point. And that $10 asset, $10 per unit asset goes down 50% to $5. You're still putting in $100. 100 divided by 5. This month you bought 20 units. That adds to your 10 units from the month before. And just in this little example, you can see that over even 12 months, if you're monthly, you are going to amass a number of units. And guess what happens to those units? They have little dividends that are paid on that foundation of units. And so that's what compounding is. So you get a 15-cent dividend, and that smashes right onto your contribution. And then it smashes onto your contribution in the third month when you have 3 different numbers of units. And the unit tally is what I want you to focus on. Why? You will never feel poorly about your investments again. Because what happens when you get out to withdrawing, and I make this analogy, fingers on your financial hand. So some of these might be bonds, some of them might be stocks, international stocks, emerging markets, real estate, etc. You're going to have all these different asset classes, types of assets, right? And they should look diversified like this. You don't want them all to be up because one day they'll all be down. That would be a bad day.
Right. You get everything in the same bucket. The bucket goes down, you're in trouble.
So yeah. So basically you say, okay, great. And now when you get out to, you want to redecorate your bathroom for $25,000. I did this all day long as a practitioner. So $25,000. So I look around, I say, okay, so this asset class is up, this asset class is up, this one is down. What's the tax cost if I have to sell this? Is this in an IRA? Maybe this is in a stock account. This will be capital gains. And I'm doing all this math in my head. And I give you the $25,000, or I did so as a practitioner. And you got that at the cheapest tax cost dollars. And you also sold winners at gains. You did not sell a loser. You know why most women are afraid of the stock market? Because they've never been taught the rules of the game. You imagine, let's say in one day, it's complete neophyte about athletics. You go out and you shoot some basketballs into the basketball hoop, and you score 4 points and the other team scores, 8. Well, you lost because you got the lower score. You go out on the golf course the next day and you take a ton of strokes and you got a 16 on that hole and someone else got a 4. The low score wins in golf. So don't be out there as an amateur without the proper training calling this right now, when you looked at it right now, a loser, and deducing you should sell that loser, because just about the time you're thinking that's a loser, that's going to come up and this one is going to come down. You see, you want to know the rules of the game. You're not going to do it in your lifetime unless this is your field. And so you'll leave that to a professional. But this is the point of diversification. And if this explanation doesn't give you a free lease on being able to populate different asset classes to meet different times of your anticipated goals, and most of all, later in life, retirement, if you call it that, then you will be absolutely enamored with looking at your units. People say, well, how do I keep myself buoyed in a down market? You look at your units. Because when you're systematically investing, guess what? This is almost an antithesis to anyone's logical mind. You want the price of the investment that you're buying to go down, 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 down. You're buying more units. And one day those units in that bucket are going to be worth a lot. And the units in this bucket are not going to be worth so much that day or that month. And then they'll juxtaposition. And this, ladies, and perhaps a gentleman, we are talking about having and building and creating our financial wealth on a diversified basis that's not going to leave us high and dry when we need the money, right? So you put your
Yeah,
money in a bank CD and it's tied up for 2 years, right? And then your roof leaks and you're like, I want my bank CD money because my roof leaked. Well, you've got to plan ahead and have some money that's liquid in an
right.
emergency fund for that need, you see. So
Hmm.
let's take the angst out of it. And how do we do that? Plan, 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 plan.
And once you set the plan and put it in motion, it's not like you have to look at it every day. That's the other thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I learned so much from you about how it all works and what I want to do, and even the terminology I've understood, but I don't know it all. So I realize that I'm always going to need the help of someone who does.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that you are having a summit at the end of March. Can you share that with everybody? And I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat and
I
on
am
Facebook as
indeed.
well.
Thank you. And we are having 10, I have invited 10 powerful, powerful women. Dr. Camille Robb. Oh, sorry. Dr. Camille Robb. I want to get all these names straight. There's 10. Come on. Dr. Camille Robb, who with her husband has funded uh, giving kids, underprivileged kids here and abroad, food, shelter, education. And that's going to be the charity to which a great portion of our VIP proceeds go. So Dr. Camille Robb, we have Abigail Tiefenthaler, we have
Yay, Abigail! Women's Prosperity Network, love her.
absolutely, we have Jill Lublin,
Yay.
we have Virginia Moose Quiz, we have Lady Jen Duplessis, we have Dr. Emily Latron.
Oh,
Oh,
wonderful.
oh, oh, wait till you hear her story. If there's a dry eye in the place, I doubt that there will be. Maris Siegel, she and her husband have planned Super Bowl halftimes. I mean, Suzanne Castle, I mean, she is all about expressing ourselves. She's filled with sparkles. She'll probably come with glitter on herself, and she is brilliant. We have Toni Kaufman, stars, standout stars. She's a PR person. We have Kimberly Crow, who is a massively well, famous for sure organizer of speaking podcasts,
Yeah,
and
I
she
see her
delivers.
on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all of these women are going to be with us, and I'm going to interview them like I've done the other series. If you've been if you've been, privileged to, and we've been privileged enough to have you tune in before. This is the fourth one, and we call it Women Busting Barriers because we all have busted through some barriers. Some of them less formidable. Some of them very formidable. Some of them from society because the socialization has been so horrible for women. I mean, another two studies out this week. Horrible for women socialized. I have a TEDx talk, feel the financial fear and do it anyway. So I want to purvey it is not your fault, women, especially mature women, if you don't know about money because you weren't taught it. And yet it is our responsibility. So with
Mm.
that, I invite you to come into your own and be brave enough. And it takes guts to take radical responsibility. This is where I am. As Lynn Twist, who I study with, says, take a stand. Let's take a stand for ourselves. And that is that we will no longer go head in sand at our own peril. We will see the fruits of and the vegetables of our future now. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. Second best time? Now. We will see
Right.
those now, and we will reap that harvest. I just want to end before we go to Q&A. This was the first part of a chapter I wrote for Marie Fertoni, another of our sisters, in a collaborative book called Inspiring Women. Imagine you're on a plane ready for takeoff. After the passengers are seated with their seatbelts fastened, the pilot announces, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If the cabin should lose pressure and the oxygen masks drop from the overhead compartments, men, put your own mask on first. Women, look to the person on both your left and right, help them put on their mask, then look 3 rows in front of you, and then 3 rows behind you for anyone who needs your help to put on their mask. Finally, if you are still conscious, put on your
Your
own
own mask. I know, that's
Note
what we're
down.
told.
That's what we're told.
That's what we're told. Well, let's stop listening to that kind of BS.
Yeah, right,
And
right,
let
right.
me invite you to join the conversation. Please raise your hand using the reactions if you're on Zoom. If you're on the telephone, just hit *6 to open up your line, and I will acknowledge you. But I'd love to hear your questions, and I'd love to hear what you're thinking and what's on your mind. If you have something and you are on Facebook, I got the comments open. Just go ahead and make a comment. In fact, someone did about the differentiating between the two different types of, that was Anna Brooks was asking us to differentiate. So go ahead and put any questions that you have, raise your hands if you have questions. And then how is it, Deborah, while we're waiting for people to get into the queue, how is it that how can we learn to be making the right decisions about what assets to buy?
Mhm.
Like, is there
Well, yeah.
something special I should know before I buy something?
Well, yeah,
Some special number or something?
yeah, you want to work with your fiduciary planner, as we spoke before, and you can go to napfa.org, napfa.org. Someone put that in the chat, and get a whole directory of financial advisors that are feeling. I'm throwing out a word of caution. It used to be you could just go to someone that called themselves an in-print fiduciary, right? Well, then financial planners thought, oh, wow, I'm missing out on a lot of business because I'm not a fiduciary. And so they go over and they open up a separate company and they say fiduciary planner. But over here, they have 6 other companies that sell insurance and everything. And you see, here's the differentiating question. You must ask this right when you're ready to interview someone or to engage with them. Interview at least 3 people. And I had clients in 28 states when I was in practice, so it doesn't have to be in your town or your state. So you want to be in relationship with this person, and you ask them, if I work with you and I end up buying any financial product, will you earn any commission? If the answer is not a resolute no, shake the dust off your feet and move on, because
Mm,
there's a conflict of interest that enters there that is absent with the fiduciary planner. I forgot to mention, for the love of Mike, Deborah, in the chat, there is a link to register for the Women Busting Barriers Summit. It's free. It is free. March 25th, which is a Monday, and March 26th, which is a Tuesday, from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm interviewing each of these women, and then we're going to offer a VIP upgrade for $97. That gives you all the recordings, a special masterclass with me afterwards, and then we're going to give a great deal of those VIP proceeds to Camille Rob's organization, Just for You, which is helping underprivileged kids around the world. She
yes.
is a magnificent person, and it's just like every dollar goes to the mission, right? That's a beautiful
Yes.
thing. So
Yes.
please register for the summit. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yes, 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 yes. And if you can't be there the whole time, just get the VIP, and that way you can go back and you'll have the recording. I got a question from Carol Leitner, who's on Facebook with us. Carol's on Long Island, and she says, can you talk about address when women in their 60s own their own homes and they now are thinking about selling, what do you do with the proceeds? And what are the
Yeah.
implications around that?
Really good question. And I'm not an advisor anymore, so I'll just put that caveat out, and I'll just suggest some notions that you'll want to check in with your fee only financial advisor and have them work with you about that. You see, these advisors, they put in these what if scenarios. It's a perfect question. They put in these what if scenarios into this algorithm and this what is called a stochastic probability study, Monte Carlo simulation, and it ferrets out thousands of iterations of various interest rates and inflation and taxes, and then it comes into an average and says, you have a 97% chance of all of these goals that you've laid out being able to happen without you running out of money. Do you know the relief that gives you? A
Yeah.
ton, right? And so you'll ask that, but here's some options, right? 2 things. One, you might want to stay in that home. you might consider, if you're over age 62 and the house is free and clear, you could entertain the option of a reverse mortgage. Stay there, and then you have like monthly checks out of the equity of your home. You could sell it and move to a less expensive environment if that's the way you want to go. You could sell it, downsize, and reduce the overhead, the square footage, and your carbon footprint, whatever, and minimize your costs in that way. And then you're going to have this lump sum. And so you're going to say, oh, do I have social coming in, either mine or that of my deceased husband or divorced husband or wife? And you're going to ferret out, and you're going to ask Social Security, go on Social Security, what? Do not make that Social Security decision yourself. I beseech you, do not. We ran it 6 ways a Sunday. People think, oh, I'll go get my Social Security. Like, I had a widow in Nevada who was my client, and she called Social Security and asked what her benefit was, and they said, you're not eligible for a benefit. I was like meeting with her the next day on the phone and said, all right, so what do they say? That, what's your benefit? She said, we're not eligible. I called a supervisor. She ends up with a check of $2,400 a month. Like, seriously, the Social Security representatives are forbidden by contract to dispense advice. If they give you advice, they can be fired on the spot. Why? They don't know. So
Right.
it'd be like asking the mailman, right? So the point is, you want to discern what income is coming in on a systematic basis, social, maybe a pension, whatever else, and then what income are you going to need to supplement that, along with maybe picking up a side hustle if that's your want, in order to meet your budgetary needs. And they may differ. Don't just say, okay, I'm going to need $15,000 a year from age 67 to 99. No, probably you're not going to be as able-bodied and so forth then to pick up the travel. So you may want to front load that. So a lot depends on where is that lump sum going to be invested, i.e., what do I need from that? I need a little growth because I can't fall prey to inflation and taxes, and I want some income. So that's the mix that you're going to keep in mind, your financial advisor going to keep in mind, and then they're going to monitor that as you go. But it's a great question, and here's the deal. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, crested it, and with Heshy Siegel's husband, Werner Berger, who is also a member, and it was amazing. And I was so irresolute on the way up, and on the way down, I slipped and fell. The deaths occur on Mount Everest climbing on the descent. Why? Because you were so focused on getting there, and you get there, and then you lose a little focus like I did, and I started kind of skiing down the lava, and I fell on my butt, and we all just laughed. It's like, oh, that is pretty funny, following the descent. The descent, taking money out of this lump sum, turning the income spigot on the underneath of it, is the absolute necessity time for you to be working with a fiduciary. Here's the stat. One bad move on that descent, on that, they call it, well, there's a sequence of return risk that you engage when you're starting to pull out. But when you're pulling out decumulation, thank you. When you're decumulating, i.e., paying your bills with your lump sum, right? Or the babies, the dividends that kicks off, and you keep your principal here, right? When you're doing that, one poor decision can cost you, if your chair has arms, hang on to them, 8 years of retirement income.
Wow.
This is nothing to trifle with. This is not to say, I need the $25,000 to redo my bedroom, my bathroom, whatever you're going to redo, and fix my roof. Here's the stock. I'll just sell it.
Right.
Hold the phone.
Yeah,
Your
hold the
financial
phone.
advisor will take the mouse, as I did, across a very sophisticated piece of software, and of that 25,000, they'll say 2,400 comes from this pocket, $4,800 comes from that pocket, 12,000 comes from this pocket, and they meld together whatever's the cheapest tax dollars to give you
Exactly.
that money.
Right. And really, to go back to what Carol was asking, it's where can I put that money so I have the cheapest tax dollars?
Sure. Oh,
It's
and growth
really,
possibility. And growth possibility.
and growth possibility. So you have to, and Carol, the advice is work with someone who's a fiduciary who can tell you where the best place to put it is. I
Right.
have a caller from the 512 area code. I'm thinking it's Anna, but I'm not sure. Go ahead and open up your line, *6 512460. Who's that? Hi. Oh, you're so close. You're muted. Yeah, you go. Hi, good morning. Oh, so close. I thought you were unmuted again. All right, let me go to a question that I have from Anna Brooks. Two things. Are fiduciary planners licensed, certified, or insured?
Licensed, certified. They are almost always. I've never seen a fiduciary plan that's not a certified financial planner, and the average experience is 22 years. Average. Remind yourself, I practiced 42 years. So they will be certified financial planners in most cases. Many of them have a master's degree in some facet of financial planning. Mine was in retirement planning. And they will not carry licenses. Like in the first 19 years of my career, I sold product. So I had all the licenses. I had the Series 7, I could sell stocks. I had the Series 64. I was a registered principal. I was all of these things. And I gave them up to practice fee only. I gave up almost 6 figures of renewal income. All I had to do was open my eyes January 1, I'd have almost 6 figures of renewal income. Why did I do that? Because I never wanted someone to think or say, Debra, what's in this for you? Here's the distinction. The fiduciary planner is the only ONLY person, professional, that adheres to the client's interests first and only. Your
Right.
broker does not adhere to that. Your broker is for your broker. Your insurance agent is for your insurance agent. Let that sit in your lap and in your mind and in your gut for a little bit. It's not funny. And I'm not interested in your saying, I don't have enough money for a fiduciary planner. There's another a site, perhaps someone can put in the chat, Garrett Financial Advising. It's Garrett Financial Planners. They're also fee only planners. You can go there and pay $200 or whatever it would be. You can go there for a complimentary 1 hour consult and get a ton of advice. And then you can go there every year and pay hourly. Do not load yourself up with a train track full of cars if you don't have an engine and the engine isn't pointed in the direction that you want it to go. You want to talk about wheel spinning. You want to talk about getting depressed because you're not making any progress. That's exactly how to do it, is to load yourself up with a bunch of products. And you don't have any idea if that's the right product to get
Mm.
you to your goal.
Well, I did look up Garrett, and that's for anybody who I don't have a lot of money. I can pay one fee and get it done. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, you can pay
Um,
hourly and so forth and so on. Yeah.
so how do we book an appointment with Deborah? Because Katie Wagner is selling her home and moving to Arizona. And they're both
Yeah.
turning 65 next year, and the Social Security question comes up. So, Deborah, how can we reach you?
It does. Email us at team at We Can Do It Women, and we will give you a calendar link. We're switching over 2 platforms at once. It's just a ball of fun. And so I think that the safest thing is to email us at team at We Can Do It Women, and then we'll get back to you with a calendar link and give you some general ideas. You see, that's what I do in the coaching process, right? I give you general ideas, and now you come to the table of your fiduciary planner with some armor, right? Some confidence builders, right? You say, hey, I heard about this. What do you think about that? Hey, I heard about that. Is that good for me at this time? Right? And so it gives you that kind of powerful position that you have at least the vocabulary. You have some of the building blocks here. You just need that professional to put them together or say, that's generally good, not for you. Boom, right?
Yeah. Another question was, how do I find a fiduciary planner? And I think the answer is one, if you don't have a lot in your portfolio right now, start with, I think start with Deborah. That's what I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Start
that's
with
true.
Deborah.
That's true. Here's the deal. You can go to a fiduciary planner. Really, I practiced this one for the last 22 years. always the first process is teasing out people's goals. Where are you going? Like we had the verve and the hopefulness, a lot of us, to kind of tamped real far down in the 2007 recession, right? And then the pandemic didn't help, right? And so I asked people, what do you want to do? And they're like, dreams. How do you spell that, right? And so once I prime that pump and say, hey, how about this? And then they say, oh, well, if I did that, how about that? How about that? How about if I actually go to my granddaughter's recital instead of watching it on Zoom? Wouldn't that be powerful, right? And it's these little goals in our minds that we have that are some short term and achievable, and we can put a win in our column, right? That's building our confidence. And so once we build, win begets win begets win. And so come to me for the coaching to start you into this learning process. Like Trish mentioned, I talk about the value of systematic savings, and boom, we have people in there. Here's Trish has a terrific amount. Somebody has 22,000 in their account. Somebody has 8,000 in their account. We're talking 2 years, women, 2 years we were doing this, and people have this kind of money. Did I do it? No. I showed them the path, and they said, that looks empowering to me. And when they saw their units going up, the empowerment went up. And here's how this rising water of financial empowerment affects our health. We have less cellular drag. We have less anxiety. Our relationships enhance. Our physicality gets better. Literally, there is science behind us feeling confident about our money, up leveling physicality, relational, spiritual, and the facets of wealth, because it is not singularly finance. It is not. Let's rise all of those boats with the confidence that you can glean and compound, if you don't mind me saying that, with a good foundation. And that's what I do as a coach. And I have women coming out of my coaching sessions and saying, I can do it. And that's the
Yes.
foundation of the We Can Do It women movement.
Yes, yes, yes. That's the whole idea. Being with you, I feel like I have stepped into a power that was waiting for me to step into,
This is it.
right? It's over here, and it wasn't hard, and it's almost painless. And I think, you talk about compounding. I think just with the compounding of the dividends going in and then get paid on everything, and I mean, in the last year, it's really grown. Like it was slow in the first 18 months, and now it's like, wow, this is going up. I love it. I love it. So let me
Huge.
ask you one other thing. I got two questions I want to make sure I get to. Banks and credit unions, my money's safe, right? But it's not the best place to keep it. Is that true?
It depends. You want to have some, you want to have some for the short term. So you want to do a money market or a bank CD or a credit union. Generally, they're insured for $250,000 per registration. Some of us use Betterment. I didn't get a nickel. I don't get a nickel from this. Betterment.com, and they had a money market whose
Love it.
cash rate was 5% or something most of
Yeah,
last
it's 475 right now.
right now. So it's much better than a bank. And
Absolutely.
and that Betterment account is completely liquid. You put money in, you take it out tomorrow, right? And so that's a beautiful thing. So we want to redefine safe. I get the fact that you want to maintain your principal, and then they're going to delve into, for the longer term goals, something that's not, the principal isn't set in stone, right? It's intended to grow, like your house, right? And so, like I always say about CDs, right? Certificates of depreciation, and people are like, what? The banker says to you, okay, Trish, thanks for that $10,000. We're going to put it in this CD. And guess what, Trish? It's guaranteed never to go up. It will still be the same dusty $10,000 when you take it out. Oh, you'll get a little interest. Thank you very much.
Oh, and by the way, inflation will have eaten away what it was to begin with. Yeah.
And tax,
Yeah,
inflation and tax.
and taxes. The other question is from, in a roundabout way, Nellie, who is a former IRS agent, was saying use a fiduciary, not a financial planner. So that's something I want you to talk about, just so we know, because people say, I'm a financial planner.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and what you're talking about as a fiduciary?
Yeah, the fiduciary is the adjective. It's financial planner. You see, if you were bored and or unemployed or got a pink slip or whatever, curious, you could you could bill yourself as a financial planner this afternoon. There's no regulation saying you can't. So it's difficult. And so financial planner is out here. It's a noun. It's a job description, if you will, in some perspective. Fiduciary is the adjective on which the meaning is client interest first, no commission, advice that literally a fiduciary can be sued for. When I had clients, I had 34 clients, and then I had their kids and I had their grandkids. So it happens when you're old in this business. And if I, if any of my clients felt I did them wrong, they could sue me. Sue. There's the difference. You can sue an attorney, you can sue a fiduciary planner. You cannot sue your broker. You say, this broker did me wrong. You go into arbitration, bada bing, bada bang. Whole different process. Whole different process. Now, I'm not saying you go into a planning relationship thinking, I'll sue them if they don't make me good money. Yeah, it has to be substance. But that gives you a little bit of an elevated look like, holy camole. Yes, because the fiduciary serves the client's interest first. And their objective is to meet that client's goals. And so what you would get from working with me as a planner who has served as a fiduciary for like 2+ decades is you would get all of the foundation work. You would get your mind recalibrated towards putting the emphasis on the right syllables, right? And the right syllables so that we have now a real good idea. And you go into your planner and now I would have given my right arm to have a person come to me, having worked with a coach such as myself beforehand, because looking right in, running the money, investing the money, bada bing, bada bang, tax minimization, right? The heavy lifting is bringing a person out of their shame, perhaps, or their paralysis for whatever reason, and bringing them into a state of I can do it, and embodying a we can do it women mentality, and then formulating ideas to stretch their mind and you reunite the return with the risk with regard to the stock market, because risk is the currency for return. Now it's a whole different ball game. You are on the varsity team and ready to play to win. And I can't be more point blank about it. It's
Yep.
so important to plan with a fiduciary planner.
Yeah, and Anna Brooks brought this up on Facebook. She said when you go to Garrett, which is the one we were just talking about, who handles people who are small, it says fee-based. So you're actually going to see fee-based on their websites usually.
Yeah, well, you don't want fee-based. You want fee only. There's 3 types of
Oh,
planners.
fee only.
Commission,
Well, thank you, Anna, for bringing this up. What's the
yeah.
difference?
Commission, fee-based, which I'm surprised that they Garrett must have changed it, but if they're fee-based, that means they'll make a fee for you, they'll charge a fee for the underlying financial plan. And then on pages 2, 4, 6, 9, 18, 29, 176 of the plan that they created for you, they're suggesting you buy 6 annuities and 2 life insurance policies on which they're going to earn a commission. So they earned a fee
Ah, so
base
it's a
plus a
little of
commission.
both. It's a little of both.
So you don't want a commission, you don't want a fee based. Remember the question I suggested you ask. If I work with you and I buy any financial product, will you make a commission? Yes or no? It's not a
Perfect.
maybe.
Perfect. Perfect. That's the question. Oh my God, my head is so full of great information. This has been such a fabulous conversation, Deborah.
Thank
Lots
you.
of great questions in the chats and the comments. Thank you all for being here, for playing with us. I really, Coach Carey says, Deborah, you've given me hope. I love that. Peg Duchesne, always terrific advice. Thank you, Deborah. And
Perfect.
I really want to urge you to go ahead right now and click on the link womenbustingbarriers.com summit. It's busting with no G, but I
Yeah.
put the link in the chat. I put the link in Facebook. Click on it right now and register. If you can't be there live, get the replay. I can only tell you from my own experience that Debra Morrison has been my financial genius, so that she's reduced all the shame that I had from being stuck in Ponzi scams, all the shame I had because I didn't have any savings, and how am I ever going to retire? all of the concerns I had about risk. I absolutely am comfortable for the first time in my life in a financial world. I want the same thing for you, and I know you want the same thing for you. So take advantage of Debra. Reach out to her at team at We Can Do It Women. You can connect with her directly. She will always take your calls and direct you in the right way. Even if she's not the right person, she'll get you to the right person. Debra Morrison, I cannot thank you enough. Hey, what are you doing in Hawaii?
Well, the sun isn't up yet, but we are going to go zip lining and more hiking and snorkeling. I mean, it is just a wild, wild time here.
So what time did you wake up this morning for?
2:30,
Oh my
2:30.
goodness. I had no idea you were there until you mentioned it. Well, I hope you have a fantastic time.
I
Thank
know
you
I got
for
the whole
being
day
with
ahead of
us.
me.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. And thank you all for being here as well. Be sure to check in next week for another Wow Wednesday. And can you imagine this amazing woman? Let's hear it for Debra Morrison. She
Thank
has
you.
made everybody better from this conversation. So thank you, Debra. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And we'll see you next week for another Wow Wednesday. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.